Home ownership is important. Today, industry professional Neil Koelbl joins me to discuss just how important it is. I'm Jay Knight, and this is Build Baby Build. All right, then, joining me today on Build Baby Build is Neil Koelbl. Neil's the president and I guess past owner of Dream Finders Home. And Neil, can you introduce yourself, your time in the industry?
Sure, yeah.
And
Yeah, currently a division president here in Atlanta is my role with Dreamfinder Homes. I had Liberty Communities for about 8.5 years, and then this past January sold the majority share of that to Dreamfinders out of Jacksonville, Florida, and just doing some transition work now. So
that's great, man. So, and you're a father of?
five children, 4 boys, 1 girl. So
That's
the
awesome.
youngest is 12, and oldest is 21.
That's
Yep.
crazy.
Yes.
My daughters babysat your oldest.
That's right.
That's crazy.
Yes, when we were neighbors.
Yeah, now I've got 9 grandkids. Hey, so Neil and I are working on some initiatives to try to push market solutions for affordable housing. And to that end, I just wanted to talk to Neil a little bit as someone who's been in the industry a long time, worn a variety of hats, all at a very high level. Why is homeownership important to you beyond getting a paycheck?
Sure.
And why do you think it's important in general?
Yeah, well, one of the neat things about our business is that we're selling to the consumers, our customers, an appreciating asset. And so it's very unique. Um, it's one of the things that people need to stay alive. It's a basic need, is shelter. And so it's also a home. When you think about the word home, where it's a place where people obviously establish and raise their families, but it's a place that they have lots of memories. They celebrate events. They mourn deaths and other things that happen in their lives. But just as on a human level, the importance of home, um, when when people do have events in their lives, that's where they want to go. That's a safe haven. It's a place for rest and uh, allow not only entertaining people, but when sometimes a family member that's outside of that home falls on hard times, it's a place that they may need to go back to and help another family member. And so just the importance of home, and how that relates to families in our community is cannot be understated.
So you have been involved because the size of the businesses you've owned and the size of businesses you've managed and run, you've been involved in the construction of how many thousands of homes?
Um, well, probably 8 or 9 thousand.
Yeah, I was thinking that's on a pretty short
Mm-hmm.
period of time. So I think the audience will be heartened to hear that out of 8 or 9,000 homes, when you think about what you produce for a living, you're really describing sanctuary.
Yes.
And you're describing
way.
people.
Good way to put it.
And I think that's really a beautiful description of what we all hope we're delivering.
Right.
So why is that important? That's your description.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that important to the individual? Maybe you did touch on that.
Sure.
And what's jeopardizing that opportunity, do you think?
Yeah, why is it important to the individual is the stability of a consistent just address, for instance. Uh, everybody's been involved in a move, right? And how hectic that is.
Mhm.
And most of the times a lot of the folks I know we're moving because we're building a new home or doing something different. But on the workforce level, when you think about that for people that are first starting out and building families, the stability of this having the same monthly payment every month, and
Mm,
then the way that translates into uh, all of the effort it takes to replace that. Let's say if you're not in a home and you're renting, we all know that rents are very high right now. They're equal to mortgages in most instances. They're only good for 12 months. And then after 12 months, what? Whether you're in a rental home or whether you're in an apartment. And so having in general, a workforce that benefits all of our communities that is more stable and not worrying about trying to find another place that they can afford.
mhm,
Um, and you think about the changes in zip codes, whether it's in a city or a county or whatever, as those places grow and develop, and rents become more and more expensive, driving when it comes time to renew those rents, driving people into farther away from their place of employment,
mhm.
and just the overall instability it just creates, just looking at it from our workforce side of things. And so, I
That's a
think
good
it's
point because I'm sitting here thinking there's not many things you can freeze the cost
right.
like you can with your
For
mortgage.
30 years, other
Mhm.
than taxes and insurance,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah.
So, we all talk about inflation, but it's inflation proof once you get into a mortgage.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it's
And earlier you were talking to me about it's a vehicle for building wealth.
sure. Yeah, I was a, author that I listened to on a podcast. His name is Terrence Keenley. He wrote a book called Sustainable, and it was about investing in ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And one of the things that he brought up is that so much of that focus has been like on green energy, building these, and all of these things are innovative and important for energy and sustainable causes. But whether people are really seem to be focused on global warming, climate change, and those
Mhm.
things, so we won't get into that. But one of the things that he said in his research that was just overlooked was housing and what that meant to communities. And he brought up the three things that create generational wealth. One of those is investing in the S&P 500 for 30 years.
Mhm.
Another one was starting a business, which is certainly not everybody has that opportunity, is not everybody's necessarily built for that. But the third one was owning a home, and that the equity that is built as you pay down the mortgage, and the appreciation of an average being 3 to 5% over a 30-year mortgage. It's something that is transferable to the next generation,
Mhm.
whether it's sold and that equity is transferred to them, or the literally the house is transferred
Well, that's
to an
true.
heir. And so, just the importance again of building generational wealth. And one of the things that we talked about earlier was the fact that the gap between um, uh, incomes not being able to keep up necessarily with the cost of living. A
Mhm.
big part of that is your monthly housing bill. You're going to have it either way, right? And
Right, you're
so,
gonna pay to live somewhere.
right,
So if if I'm if I believe my home is an investment and history is borne out that's the case,
yeah,
then every month I make that payment, I'm actually building some equity.
hmm
But now we're in a situation where the average age of the first time home buyer has moved from 26 years old to 38 years old. What do you think the impact is of that?
yeah. One of the things that I think about when you say that is the motivation to own a home and start a family. Um, uh, Several years ago, I did a lot of work in Haiti. Had the privilege of working in that country for probably about 7 years, and our goal there was to build an orphanage. But over time, one of the things I learned, as sometimes we criticize these countries of, well, why aren't they moving forward? Why aren't they doing that? Why aren't they doing this? Well, they don't. First of all, they don't have the infrastructure. I mean, their road system, for instance, you pull out of the place you're staying, you're trying to get to a meeting, and there's a dump truck broken down on the road, and he's got the whole road backed up. And what's he doing? He's replacing the transmission, etc. So it's right there in the road. So, but what I learned is those type things just killed the motivation to have any sort of decent workforce there, right? I mean, if you couldn't consistently get to a job, then there was no motivation to better yourself, um, save your money, take care of the things that you have. And it's a similar thing that's an extreme example, but it is something that I could see here in our country is that the the more we the bigger gap there is between working hard and being able to afford a home and establish that for a family, the m the motivation for our workforce has gotta be, um, declining, in my opinion, is that,
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. So,
mm,
as you're describing that, I'm thinking about the mayoral race in New York.
mhm,
So, you've got a fellow there who's talking about the hopelessness that all New Yorkers should feel when it comes to buying food and housing and everything else. I think his solution is wrong,
sure,
as socialist, but the fact that he's got such overwhelming support and the guy's probably going to win
sure,
means that he's tapped into that despair that you're describing. Although I think we'll learn a year from now that it's just going to grow exponentially, but
sure,
it doesn't change the fact that people feel that despair
that gap, yeah,
because um, because the rules aren't working for them,
that's right,
and we know in the development home building business we're not able to operate in a purely capitalistic manner because we're not permitted to meet people where their buying power is.
right, right, yeah, that's
So that
true,
kind of explains that. That's really something because I see so many complaints from people my age about the spending habits of people in their 20s and 30s.
mhm,
I can see that. I can see why because if I know there's me owning a home, there's no chance for that. Well, I might as well go on vacation,
that's right,
or I might as well go to $100 brunch
right,
because the decision makers have made this impossible.
that's right,
So your kids are just entering adulthood,
mhm,
and birth rates are going down. Household formation is being delayed. I I can't be objective in this. I
right,
see everything as being a housing issue.
sure.
Do you think housing could have anything to do with any of that type thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, traditionally, people don't want to start houses until, I mean, excuse me, they don't want to start families until they have their own places, right?
Mhm.
And the further that's removed for them, again, the less motivation they have, or even the opportunity to feel like, um, and I don't even know if this is something that people realize that they're thinking. And I like what you said about, well, if I can't achieve this, I might as well go spend it because it's hopeless. I'm never going to get there. And then that just leads to uh, a lack of maturing households. And so, certainly owning a house and having a family, we're not saying that's for everyone, but the uh, I think it's obvious what the formation of families do for communities.
Mm.
Uh, Even if you just look at it for a population that's aging out, we need the young folks to
Oh yeah.
keep our taxes and our schools and being generating a profit and being established in a home, if that's what's the calling for them. And it gives them, even if the folks that are called, have that desire, if they can't achieve it, then, kind of what's the point for them? You can
Mm.
see how that would be very discouraging and them not wanting to establish a family.
Mhm.
They don't have a place to raise them.
So Yeah, and what's interesting is it wasn't that long ago, houses, it was attainability wasn't this difficult.
Right.
So you were closer to this than me probably, because at this point I was only really doing land acquisition work in 2021.
Mhm.
And but it seems like most of the cost explosion happened like the first 8 months of 2021. Is that your recollection?
Yeah, the supply chain issues
Yeah,
really
so COVID,
bear that out. Mhm.
hunger, so supply chain. If
Yeah.
I ever heard the word supply chain issues again,
Do I need a duck?
yeah, thankfully that's just about slowed down.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it has, but it hasn't, Jay. I think that one of the things that concerns me is our supply chain. If you look at the consolidation of our industry, there's companies out there that are, and hey, it's a free market. People buy and sell, and that's their right. But what concerns me is that the amount of plumbers and electricians that are being consolidated and rolling up into one business. You know, when I was first started with you, and then worked with Frank at Crown Communities, there were multiple garage door suppliers. There are multiple brick suppliers. There are multiple windows. Just look at our siding business. I mean,
mhm.
there's one dominant siding provider.
Roofer now too.
Right, roofer, you know, and so it gets into a little bit more concerning issue to me, especially just another one would be paint, Sherwin-Williams. Hey, these are all people that we do business with and we love, so don't listen to this and go fund our pricing, but at the same time, it is a concern,
Yeah.
that,
So we can't really negotiate on the consumer's behalf with a large enough pool of people.
yeah, and that probably gets into, well, why is that? Is it so hard to establish? Is it impossible to start another paint company just because of the regulations that we have with chemicals, the expense to build a plant, the time it takes to build a plant? Um, how many years in this country, and a lot of people may not realize this, but I think there's four foundries that build all of the water and gas pipe
Really?
that we put in our use for water and gas supply in our country. It's not if it's more than 4, it's not much more than
Wow.
that. Um, and if you look at the same thing with people that are providing concrete pipe, how many
There's an international consolidation in concrete.
yeah, I was just reading the other day that Foley Products, which is one of the largest providers in the Southeast, is being purchased by, I think it's called Consumer Materials, for 1.87 billion. That's awesome. But there's another, um, you know, I think they're right here, headquarters out of Noonan. But there's another supplier that's gone to
Mhm.
the that's taken off the market, right, to
Well,
negotiate with.
when those costs went up in 21, and then rates, uh, I mean, rates are what, a 6.25 right now?
Hmm.
A 6.5% interest rate is a great interest
True.
rate. The problem that we encountered was they allowed all the costs to go up before they started letting rates
That's
ease.
right.
Rates had rates gone up earlier, we probably could have avoided some of those cost increases.
Right.
But that's the way it went. What stopped you? So our people buy monthly payments. But
Mhm.
they choose a house, but they buy what they can afford on monthly payment. And so the houses we were building all of a sudden were not affordable to the people that we had historically sold homes to, two teachers, a nurse, and a police officer, that type of thing.
Right.
What stopped you from meeting the market immediately um, when buying power changed?
Yeah, so it was a culmination of things from the difficulty and the time that it took.
Mhm.
One of the things that I know we've been talking about the GRLDC and its role in trying to speed things up, but um, as you know, it felt like when you've got the property under contract, when you got the zoning when you got the LDP, it was so difficult to get all of those things that when you had a project that would work, it just became so valuable
Mhm.
because it was such a unique, it was almost like a unicorn, so to
Yeah,
speak.
for sure.
It was, and so that just became extremely valuable. Um, and yeah, the interest rates being too low were a big part of the catalyst of that, to where it was, um, uh, kind of, uh, oversupplying at different times,
Mhm.
uh, and artificially being too low.
Mm.
So there's a healthy balance there. It's not so much like you said, the 6.75. I mean, look at the fact that all of us are buying down the rates to 4.99. It's
Yeah,
4.99 for 30 years.
yeah.
Okay, and it's most of those are FHA backed loans with no personal guarantees, and
Mhm.
so I think any business minded person that you went and offered them any sort of loan at 4.99 for 30 years, sign me up. I'm going to invest that money and use it. So it's such a the interest rate really, um, I think, works. It's just that we've got to figure out how to get, um, uh, the which, if you want to call it, affordable housing, uh, or houses that match the income levels of the folks that you just mentioned.
What stops you from delivering that?
Yeah, so, the zoning regulations that we have, I think that it's healthy to have a conversation with our, politicians, about the projects that we're putting. I understand they have a obligation to make sure that, the things that are benefiting their constituents, um, but, uh, but a lot of it is politically based, and it's run by just, a small percentage of people that are very vocal in different communities that are part of the "Not in My Backyard" movement that we've all
Mhm.
heard about, that keeps us from being able to build, a 1,200 square foot ranch that,
Why can't you build a 1,200 square foot house?
yeah, we can't get the zoning. We cannot get, um we can't get the zoning in most instances, and then a lot of times, sometimes if that is available, the cost of the land and the cost to
Mhm.
develop it, kind
So
of make
they
it
also need to. It seems like the art lot cost is mostly hurt by development cost.
yeah,
And so if we could do a 50-foot lot with a or a 40-foot lot with a
right,
1,200 square foot house, we could do something.
that's right.
You know, would it be reasonable? For instance, most creators don't have limitations on what they're allowed to create.
Mhm,
It's just freedom of
that's right,
expression.
yeah,
We uniquely are inhibited on what we're free to create.
that's right,
And so I think is interesting is the same municipality that tells you how wide the lot is, how far it has to be from the street, how far it has to be from sidelines, what kind of grass you have to use, what kind of tree you have to plant, what kind of pitch on the roof you can use,
right,
what materials you can build the house with, how big the house has to be, where the garage door has to be, and how big it has to be. And then they want to complain about all the houses looking alike when they've designed 80% of the houses
that's
they
right,
see.
yeah, yeah,
So there's that. We're going to have to deal with that. But what if zoning were ideally it would be eliminated,
sure,
except for just the separations between commercial, industrial, and residential.
yeah.
But once in the residential area,
Once you're in a residential area, that's what we have. And when you get into it and you look at the, future land use plans that the state requires, and different fundings attached to that, and the planning that we're doing, that the counties spend a tremendous amount of time and money
mhm,
hiring professional planners to plan these things out. If you look at places like Houston, look at the year over year
and their
growth.
market, there's a bunch of markets in Texas that are suffering right now, but Houston isn't.
Right. And the financial benefits from the stability of their housing market that comes with a lot of businesses relocating there. It just goes hand in hand.
Yep.
Um, and you're right. I mean, where there's certain classifications of roads is where the industrial should go. Where the sewer is, getting large lots on sewer doesn't always make sense. But let the market dictate that. I mean,
100%.
what's always interesting to me is that when the politicians get involved and they listen to a small percentage of the constituents that are coming out, I go to a zoning meeting and it feels like a lot of people that are showing up against it, but it's maybe 50 people at the most. Maybe it's 10 to 15 people, but I'm there.
Thousands have seen the sign,
That's
all
right.
of them.
That's right. On the flip side of that, I'm there trying to entitle a piece of property that maybe contains 300 units. And if it's a family, you have 600 people living in there. That's your constituents. It's I did a little experiment, I guess, a couple of years ago when I was trying to get a piece of property entitled, and we had the benefit of being able to do another development in a city that's in the same county, and it was at the time it was a much more affordable product. Didn't have it was like 60-foot lots that we had built on that didn't have a lot of elevation and minimum square footage requirements, and we had a really good relationship with a lady that lived there, and she happened to be a nurse. She was a single mom nurse. And I was really battling the council over wanting us to do minimum of like 2,500 square foot houses, four-side brick, 100-foot wide lots, etc. And one of the things that the council member kept saying is referring to the fact that we don't want the people that live in the homes that I wanted to provide, which was in a similar neighborhood, that there was some sort of stigmatism to those people. And so I asked at the next meeting, it was tabled, and I asked this lady, this nurse that had bought from us to come be on. It was a time where they were doing the zonings on Zoom, and I asked her to be on the Zoom and speak up about the type of person that lives in that home that this particular council person was tearing down. And so the council person, we got on the Zoom call, and sure enough, he starts in on the people that live in these type houses. And when it was opened up to, for the people in favor to speak, this lady spoke up and she said, "I can't believe he's wanting to build," meaning Neil is wanting to build the same house that I live in, and you're telling very derogatory statements about the people that live in those type homes, and I'm one of them. I'm one of the ones that
Good for her.
works at the Henry County Medical Center here as a nurse.
Yeah.
Um, uh, why is there such a stigmatism with somebody that lives in a house that's under $300,000? I have no idea. Other than I'm probably getting out of bounds here that we have politicians running this thing that need to be reelected. And I understand again that they have a duty to represent their uh, good developments and quality growth, however that's defined. But I think we need some leadership to stand up for the middle America that maybe just cannot afford the 500 and 600.
We would all benefit from younger people being able. It's the most exciting time of your life to be in your 20s. You're getting married. You're
Right.
starting your family. You're owning a home, and
think
to
about
have the
too,
municipality
how
robbing that from us is not real.
how many businesses are started in home? We were
Yeah.
talking about that earlier. That's another thing that we didn't touch on, but creating generational wealth, one of the three things was start a business. How many businesses are started or side businesses to help?
Well, that's where night homes were
Sure,
started.
right.
Was at a dining room table.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Neil, there's a lot we could unpack.
Sure.
And unfortunately, we don't have enough time to do it today. But I want to thank you so much for coming in. You've had, you're so well respected in our industry, many, many successes, and I really agree with everything you had to say. So,
Thanks for teaching me.
hi, yeah. I don't know. Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you, Neil.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.